Hello and welcome to the Merri-Cast, the show that puts you on the fast track to business confidence. My guest this week is Solomon Thimothy. Solomon is a highly accomplished entrepreneur from the world of marketing and sales. He's the co-founder and CEO of IMS, a leading inbound marketing and sales agency, as well as another called ClickX, and he has helped businesses increase their revenue using his 10X framework. He's also an expert in lead generation and customer acquisition. Well, that's what he does, but what's he like? Well, from the very first minute or so of this audio podcast, if you think you can hear him smiling, then you're right, you can. He's got this infectious abundance of energy and a passion for business and growth. I love talking to Solomon, and I hope you'll enjoy the listen.
My dad was an entrepreneur. I don't know how long ago, must have been like 70s or something like that. He was buying things on wholesale and selling at retail. Now, I wasn't there, obviously. I hear lots of stories that, somehow I got a little bit of that bug in me. It's always, interesting to see my dad. My dad always recommended me to do performance-based stuff, performance-based. I was like, well, where do you come up with this, Dad? Like, he's always been a performance-driven guy. And also, one of my uncles also is in the business world as well. So growing up, like I said, I was surrounded by entrepreneurs, but I don't think it's actually enough reason to become an entrepreneur, So either you really are passionate about this or you're not. You can live in an entrepreneurial family and just become a doctor. I think it takes a special person, Trevor, to want to do this. This is one of those things you wonder, why am I doing this, right? It takes an enormous amount of energy just to make it through, the entrepreneurial journey. And I got to tell you, I actually help agency owners, maybe like employees transitioning to entrepreneurship. They would go through our program and a lot of them, they don't make it. They're like, this is too hard.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, so yeah, it does, and so in terms of separating out those that do make it from those that don't, let's talk a little bit about that. So, is there a sort of fundamental thing? Is it just about drive? That actually ultimately the people who don't make it don't really want to be entrepreneurs because they prefer the comfort of somebody else employing them. Is it as simple as that, or are there other things?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it has a lot to do with how much effort it takes to grow a company. Maybe we can use simple terms, right? Like there's gravity that is pulling your business down. You have to go against gravity to grow and get customers and outmarket your competition, to spend whatever it takes on advertising, if that's what you need to do, or grow organically. It takes enormous amount of effort. And I think when people start to see that and they were getting a really good job and then they're like, oh my gosh, really? If I quit my job and I'll have zero money, that doesn't seem like a good idea. Yet entrepreneurs have no problem going to work and saying, hey, I got to go figure it out today. And you said that yourself, right, Trevor? You've been consulting businesses, you realize that it takes a different kind of person to say yes to that deal.
It certainly does. So what made you say yes to that deal? Tell me about the little path that led. Did you go and work for somebody else first and just not like it? What happened?
Yeah, I had my fair share of jobs, right? And I didn't have any issues with them. I mean, I was probably the best employee because I got promoted everywhere I went. So clearly I was doing something right. But it was much more of me wanting to do more than whatever the job called for, right? I don't have one of those stories where I didn't like my boss or something like that. I wish I did. It would make a podcast episode so much more fun, but I actually liked everybody I worked with. In fact, when I transitioned out, they were paying me to work with them, continue to work with them. And they were paying me enough to I was like, wow, this is really awesome. But the reason is I wanted to do more. I wanted to learn more. I wanted to kind of be in charge of certain things. So I want to go build stuff. I mean, it's kind of this weird wanting to do more things, right? Today, after learning personal development for so many years, we call that becoming the best, version of yourself and all of that. But at that time, I didn't know what I was saying or doing. I was like, no, I'm not kind of learning new things. So now at that time, what I was talking about is managing, a company rather than a department, or trying to find customers in these weird ways that I thought would be possible, or, you know what I mean? Just literally putting yourself out there and seeing and being able to risk, because I started this at a very young age. So it worked to my advantage, you know? So I started my early 20s.
Let's take that on. So how old were you then when you first set up your first?
Right out of college. This is
Right.
literally the first, yeah, it's my first real job.
And
Yeah, go ahead.
is this one IMS or is this ClickX?
Yes, that's correct. That was
Right.
the agency that I started right out of college, and it is with my brother. And that kind of taught me the agency world. Obviously, it was no easy feat trying to get a customer when we are in the brand new age of digital marketing and people didn't spend money on Google Ads. Today, they know what that is. At the time, they don't know what that is.
Mm.
I was selling websites, which is so much easier. And then we morphed into more digital marketing. But at the time, there weren't a market. I'll just be honest with you. People were talking about it. So I was selling things to early adopters like, hey, you need a website, you need a domain name, you need a corporate email address, this cool thing at whatevercompany.com, So
So there you were, starting this business with your brother. I mean, was there anything about that entrepreneurial experience early on, I mean, that surprised you at that stage? Did you suddenly go, God, this is hard work. I didn't think it was going to be this hard. Or I mean, what was your initial kind of instinct once you entered this world?
Yeah, well, like I said, fortunately, I was pretty young. So no matter how hard I worked, I didn't really know like this is 80 hours because you just did stuff. I didn't have anything else to do. So yeah, we did work a lot. But fortunately, I had built a network of people that I knew in the business world that I was just kind of like networking and asking them like, hey, you know anyone? I was not afraid to like email. Today, there's something called cold email. At the time, we just like email. And then, believe it or not, this is so true that our business came from like a 50-mile radius of where we were. And that
Right.
was it. Like all business, everything we had was like 50. The reason I say that is like there weren't anybody I couldn't drive to. I
Yeah.
could drive, God knows wherever it was. I can drive to their offices. And we did many times, once in a while. The closer ones would drive more frequently. So kind of sharing the story because there's probably people out there thinking I have to like, find a client in Nebraska, how am I going to do that?
Mm.
No, I always say this, like whatever you do, there's probably people 3 and 5 mile radius of where you are right now that don't know that you exist and you fix this problem. They're on Google trying to find some other company in another state when you're right there.
I mean, this is interesting because I was reading a book recently. It was like an old fable, if you like, about having diamonds at your feet, about somebody who goes prospecting far and wide, and then
Yeah.
finds actually the business was right next to them, literally under
Yep.
their feet. And so that was an early lesson, then, was it for you?
Yeah, it was. And, I'm actually in the process of starting kind of like that again, a local business, local marketing rather than kind of like B2B, which is what IMS is. And what we're trying to do is find reps, Trevor, just so you know, this is the same kind of belief that I have since then. Find reps in different markets and then have them farm their area. And that's it. Like I'm going to tighten it up. Maybe they don't go bigger than 25-mile radius unless they live in like farmland. Maybe they go 50 miles. But like if you're in kind of like a bigger area, a city, metro, whatever you want to call it, there's so much business to be made right there. And I believe in the same way that, we did very well for just being in Chicago. Fortunately, that's where we came and we lived. And if I can get sales folks in all these different markets, we'll be one of the largest local marketing company there is just because we'll just do what we did at scale, right? This is what I do with my free time.
Okay. Okay, great. Just let's take a step back then. So to give me a bit of context on the businesses that you launched
Yeah.
then, and just for the benefit of our listeners who may not know, just tell us what they were and whether they've turned out as you expected.
Yeah, absolutely. So first and foremost was, like you said, One IMS. It's our digital marketing agency, our flagship company that helps small, medium-sized businesses. We play a lot more in the B2B space just because our team is so much more savvier with business-to-business companies, with CRM implementations and, lead nurturing and all the kind of automations that they need today. It just makes more sense for a B2B company that has a long sales cycle, complex sales, it's just a little bit different, right? The sales process is so much longer. Every deal is worth tens and thousands of dollars. So they invest a lot more. They're different kind of problems. So being that for the last 17 years or whatever many years it has been, I learned so much about just lead generation and customer acquisition that other agencies started to take note. I actually help agencies, that's what I was saying, start and scale it. That company is called ClickX, which is kind of like my passion project. I get to experiment every day. And people have said that, like, I don't know what you're doing, but there's a lot of experiments going on. Well, I got to experiment. How else do you know? Did you know marketing is all but experiments? That's what it is. Like, the more you know about marketing and you question experimentation, like, you don't know what you're doing. Nobody knows what works.
Yeah. Now I can see some themes emerging here that you said earlier that you wanted to do more, which is starting up
Yeah.
the business, and now you're talking about experimenting and so on. There's a kind of restless curiosity going on there with you, Solomon, isn't there? That there's something that you're just gonna. I wonder if I push this button, what's going to happen?
I don't
And
know.
is that fair or?
Trevor, I didn't know you're a therapist. I think we figured out what's wrong with me. There's always this unrestness. Because why? Because there's always more things that's happening, right? I don't know if you know this. I've never had 2 days in a row where I did the same thing because in marketing, everything's changed tomorrow. We went to work this way, and tomorrow our web design technologies is new, or Google's algorithm is new, and then the half of the buttons on Facebook ads is no longer there. They decide to make an update. It's absolutely insanely different every single day. So you got to stay abreast.
Yeah.
Otherwise you're going to be lost.
Yeah. Now I want to know about that because if you're never doing the same thing, 2 days in a row, then presumably in order to build a business, you need people around you who are
Yeah.
basically saying, Solomon, no, we need to do this same thing. So I mean, do you have this kind of you're constantly looking here, there for all these things,
Yeah.
and are there people kind of keeping you grounded in your business?
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely. So yeah, fortunately, absolutely blessing that we have amazing people that stick with what they do. Because like I said, we have Google Ads people, SEO people, HubSpot and web dev and all the things that we do. They're experts at it, right? Like they know what's happening. But if I look at the industry, which is kind of what a visionary should be doing, is what's happening in the outer. Like, hey, where is this thing headed? I see nothing but change. I see nothing but drastic changes every single day. You realize that these technology companies are trying to put themselves out of business because somebody else is trying to put them out of business. So they're constantly trying to create products and throw away products, and they don't even care. For instance, Apple got rid of the Apple Car project. It's like, that's a great example, but imagine Google did that, right? Like, they didn't care how many billions they spend trying to figure out if car is a thing. But if it was, then they would have gone into it. So like Google creates a product and they throw it away and then create Gemini. And then tomorrow will be something else. And so we look at that and say, hey, if we think we're going to do the same thing for the next decade, forget about it. We won't be in existence. The only way that we can be in existence is that we're up with the program. We're changing as fast as everything else around us. And so as our clients, right? Because they're not going to get the results if they're not putting their money wherever it's working for them.
Now, can I ask you a question then on in terms of what it is that clients want? Is that there's a big emphasis in terms of you helping people find leads, lead generation, developing like a system of doing these things. Now, I hear people saying not everybody wants to grow, or at least not, well, maybe they say things like, well, we want to grow with quality rather than quantity and so on. Are you creating systems that help people grow as rapidly as possible, or are you creating systems that help people find those right kinds of clients that grow in the way that they want to?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we built what's called the growth formula, right? That's our team. I give them all the credit. I just work here. So what they've done is they've looked at all of the top clients that we had and all of the clients that were doing kind of average, which is they're getting some ROI, but like nothing, off the charts. It's kind of a normal in line with case studies you would read on, Google or Facebook or whatever. And then there were others that weren't getting great results, period, but they kept advertising as well because they know they need to. If they didn't, they're going to be eaten alive. And so we look at these three kind of customers, and there's a lot of parallels because you kind of run into that in this business, in any business, right? You can be an accountant and you see the same thing. we realized that there's a lot of things our customers were doing right, and there's a lot of things that they weren't doing. Maybe they were doing in-house, but we didn't see it. But the growth happened when you put these two pieces together. Trevor, that is acquisition and retention equals growth. Okay. Acquisition is, let's just use Disney Plus subscriber list. Every month somebody subscribes, and then you have to retain them, which is the second piece of the commandment. You don't retain them, you're going to lose everybody, and then you didn't grow. And so these two things happen. It has to happen all the time, and they got to have a system that runs it. To acquisition system and a retention system is always running. And so inside the acquisition system, this is probably the key that you're looking for, is that there's two big compartments there. That's it. Which is, are you creating demand for your products and services, or are you capturing the demand that already exists for your products and services? Trevor, this is a tricky question here. What do you think business owners or marketing people, they go to work, do you think they try to create demand, or they just capture the demand that already exists in the marketplace?
Well, I think the natural tendency is to go and get those customers in, but then there's often a leaky bucket going on. They lose them just as fast as they can find them.
I think, yeah, the natural tendency is to pretend there is no demand for this product or service and start creating demand. Like, let's go make social media posts because clearly we don't have anybody that needs this product or service in the marketplace, which is wrong because there's already people Googling you, but you're not showing up. That's where you should be spending your money. You see what I'm saying? That's the acquisition part. Yeah. If you don't do that, and like anybody that's listening today, and they're on this amazing podcast and they're checking out how to grow their business. This is the ultimate customer acquisition episode. They're trying to figure out, how do I grow? And then if they Google their products or services, like something near me, an accountant, I don't care what you're searching for. If your own business doesn't show up and you're sitting at the location of your office, we got work to do.
Yeah. You said about me being a therapist. I think you're being a therapist now. I think it's helping me to think around some of the issues in terms of my business as well. I mean, what is the most common misconception about lead generation that you've kind of come across? I'd just be interested to know that what is it that people get wrong more than anything else?
I think that it is a system, like I said. You shouldn't think about it. If you have to think about it, then something is not working. If you have a problem of I'm constantly needing leads, that means that maybe, like you said, there is a leaky funnel somewhere that you're losing them throughout the process. So, in our second side, it says retention. The retention is all about managing and nurturing your leads, managing and nurturing your customers. So if you're managing and nurturing your leads automatically could mean somebody calls them every 2 weeks or something, but it's happening because there's a system in place. You wouldn't have to worry about acquisition and growth and revenue and whatever. And I just feel like a lot of people, it's a feast and famine situation. When they're doing well, they don't look at their marketing. And then all of a sudden you said, oh, some economy pullback or something happened. All of a sudden they're like, oh, shoot, we don't have any leads. Oh, shoot, we don't even have a sales rep. Or our website doesn't even work. Like, all of this should have been thought through, because in my world, this is the most important department that you got.
Just so that I can unpick that a little bit, so that in a way, it's a bit like some of those we hear about, all these kind of things that we have developed so well. I know, like driving a car, for example, that after a while you've been learning, it becomes an unconscious action. You know how to drive a car, even if you get from A to B and think, actually, I don't remember most of that journey, that I actually went on an act where you don't have a crash, during the course of that journey. And but it's happened because it's not actually something you're having to consciously think about. It's because the system is built and thought through, and you've had to go through that pain of learning to use the gear stick or when to brake, when to accelerate.
Gear stick, I will definitely crash if you give me one of those.
I forget, in America now there's a lot of autos.
We don't have that.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've seen people doing that. Eating a hamburger, drinking coffee, and switching at the same time. Yeah, I'm not going to do that. It is, in a way, automatic transmission fixed it for us, right? Like, you don't have to worry about it in first gear, second, third. When do you have to go to fourth? There's even a fifth. You know what I mean? Like, how does that work? Well, again, if you run ads or you have constant creation of content that are searching, whatever people are searching for, you're answering those questions in your blog posts, and you have an email that goes out to those people that are filling out the form, and automatic follow-up, you're kind of doing automatic transmission in marketing.
Yeah.
You're not having to tell it to go send an email or, hey, we now need to update the website. There's somebody looking out for it and looking at the keywords that you're trying to rank for and see if you're going up or going down. And if it's going down, they're taking the right measures, updating content, enhancing the speed of the website. Is it mobile optimized? What can we do to make it better? How do we make it more friendlier for human beings, not just Google, right? How do we create more helpful content? Like that's a system.
Yeah.
You can have an agency, you can have a consultant, you can have an employee do it. I don't care how you do it. My whole purpose is not to sell, it's to educate. So our customers, our listeners, entrepreneurs, they have to build a system. If not, go hire somebody who can do it for you. And then all you should be looking at is your dashboards. Hey, are we getting traffic? And are we getting leads? And how many of those leads are qualified versus unqualified? And how many of those leads are going into my sales rep's calendar? And what percentage is he or she closing? And if not, let's go back to square one. Where are we getting these leads? Why are they unqualified? Do you see what I'm saying? It's got to be a systematic way of approaching it. And then you don't have to worry about, you should be looking at, if you get 10 appointments, for instance, per rep, or if you only have one rep, you get 10 appointments. When you're 5, some alert should happen. But business owners in general, including myself, we don't look at that, right? We're kind of busy doing whatever it is that we do. Until he says, I have 0 appointments, we hardly worry.
Yeah. So on that subject then, in terms of you as a business owner, what is it that you feel? I mean, everybody has things that they do really well, and then there's some things that they don't do so well, or lessons they have to keep relearning time and again. I mean, it's obvious from hearing you talk about what, things that you're really good at, and and so on. But what about the things that you personally sort of struggle with in terms of as a business owner, entrepreneur, that you kind of wished you could do a bit better, either in the past or still?
Yeah, 100%. I think it's me and probably a lot of entrepreneurs. When you're really good at the fulfillment of it, like that's the doing of the work. And I know one of my clients actually helped businesses get government contracts. They worked for the government so many years. They know all the pieces of how hard it is, and they'll teach you and do it for you and all of that so you can get government contract. But you tell them, let me help you market. Can you jump on a sales call? Can you do this? It's like, I don't want to do any of that, because they don't know how to do that part. They don't want to learn marketing. They don't want to make Instagram stories and, you know what I mean, carousel posts. None of that is what they want to do. They just want to do the thing. So I think practitioners have a hard time doing all of the things that get more customers in the door. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We just so happen to be in the fulfillment of marketing, but that doesn't mean that I'm so good at getting out there, running a webinar every half hour on autopilot, even for us. But the good thing is that we did build a growth formula. So whenever we need more customers, we deploy it. But challenge is that the plumber is always busy plumbing, doing whatever work at people's houses. He's hardly worried about the website.
Yeah.
And that means that if he wants to grow the company, he has no levers that he can just pull and presumably get more customers. There's just nothing, right? It's almost like there's a website and marketing and there's the company. Like there is not cohesiveness. And what we try to do is we don't want to have that happen. We want to know the health of their marketing and their customer acquisition every single day, every single moment. So we use the exact same dashboards for all customers. We use the exact same system for all customers. And every single customer has to be buying our CRM or whatever system, or else we're not a good fit. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because we want to help them fix all the problems. So I'll say one more thing, is that most people, when they try to do this on their own, this is the other thing, they're trying to save money. They'll build a Franken system technology, right? Like the website is in WordPress, the CRM is some cheap thing, the email marketing is MailChimp, nothing against MailChimp. I'm just using an example. None of it talks to each other. So if somebody fills out the form, do they get added to MailChimp? Nope, that doesn't happen, right? Like, how are you nurturing these people? Well, you have Google over here, and you don't have a shared address book. There's no calendar widget. Nothing is cohesive. And this is almost every organization out there, right?
So it's interesting you use that word plumbing, because it's my view that so much of being an entrepreneur is some of that less glamorous things about being a good plumber,
right,
and making sure everything is joined up.
Yeah. So what we try to do is we consolidate all of that into one thing. Your website is the same as your email. Your email is the same as your CRM, and the CRM is the same as what your sales rep should be doing. It's the same as your booked appointment system that you're supposed to be using, which is the same as the social media that you're supposed. It's got to be integrated. In fact, IMS stands for Integrated Marketing Solutions. And if we didn't do that, we did it. It's a disservice, right? Like, we cannot help them if we can't put all the pieces together, because they all work together. So, you probably noticed this when you're buying something. I went and bought a dishwasher yesterday. My dishwasher needed to be replaced. Nobody's got time. But like, I went to Lowe's and just bought it and I was done. But a lot of people, they would Google it, they'll look at the best dishwasher, then they'll like go to their social media, they go look at the appliance store, and they come back and now they get 5 emails. The buying journey is like so complicated. Like, then they ask their friends, and then they'll ask the guy that they work with. They've had 10 inputs to buy something like that.
Yeah.
So if you think that your customers just have a linear, buying process, they just went to your website and they filled out the form, they didn't talk to any other company, they didn't talk to any other salespeople, they didn't Google anything or go on YouTube and watch 6 videos, you're wrong, because that's not the world that we live in anymore. And so your social media and your email blast, your website, it's got to all be like one thing, because we don't know where they are in their journey.
That's a fascinating, brilliant answer. In terms of that customer journey, I'm interested in terms of your own journey, though. If you were giving advice to young Solomon just starting out as an entrepreneur, what would you? Are there things that you would say? Do that, or for heaven's sake, don't do that. Things that maybe you did and you shouldn't have done, or did do but did too much. I'm just interested in what advice you would give your younger self.
I think the younger self of all of us is we hold ourselves back. That's probably the best piece of advice. Like, nothing is going to hold you back. And until you realize that, and at whatever age you are, do you see what I'm saying? Like, you wouldn't really know. So, I mean, I took a lot of risks. Don't get me wrong. I risked everything. I risked everything I had, but I wish I took bigger risks. Because like I said, the bigger the risk, the bigger the payout. And I'm taking a lot of risks today. I risk every single day. Like, we're gambling with certain, kind of things that we're trying to do. Why? Because we don't know what's going to work and what's not going to work. We have a team that's doing prospecting and outbound and all that kind of stuff, because that's a world that's extremely difficult to scale. It might work, it may not work, but we're spending a lot of time and money into it. I just told you about the local side of things, hiring reps all over America. All these are risks, high risk, but it also has high return. If one of those works, it's like my own little portfolio of companies. Like, I don't need all 10 of them to work. I just need one to work.
Yeah. So I'm really getting hopefully a clearer sort of picture now in terms of particularly this thing around curiosity. Are you literally waking up every day and thinking, wow, the world's full of possibilities, and I'm going to get excited about this or this and so on. I just imagine there's lots of fireworks going off in your head, sort of all day. Is that how it is?
It is. I'm an extremely optimistic person, right? I just really feel like, people says, man, the AI is here to, take our jobs or whatever else. Like, I have no issues with that. And I think that's a good thing, because we get to do more fun things. Why we do monotonous, boring things when AI can do half of it for you, right? So it should be relieving. So like, there's a lot of changes that's happening or will be happening in our world. So either you're going to be pro change or anti, right? So like, for me, I'm like, hey, what can I capitalize? What's happening in the marketplace? Like I showed you, there's a giant shift from people transitioning from traditional marketing to digital. There's a giant shift from people going from all these disparate systems to wanting more unified marketing, right? There's a giant shift from people wanting to try what I just shared with you, like outbound prospecting in a very difficult world where any email you send is like checked spam or not. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, everybody's emails ending up in spam. Like, there is an opportunity there to find out how do you capitalize on that. Because every single day I'm helping businesses who has to fill up their pipeline with leads. So I don't just preach inbound, I also preach outbound as well. So if there's 100 companies that you can go out there, they're called your Dream 100. They're never going to see your ad, because this is not how it works. You don't say, hey, show my ad to these 50 companies. You outreach to those 50 companies. You reach out and say, hey, this is what we do, right? You send a video and say, hey, I'm Trevor. Here's what I do. I'm going to fix your problem. And then keep entertaining that. Those all have to be happening, because I'm in the growth business. So yes, there is fireworks every day, like Disney World.
Yeah, fantastic. So one sort of question that I'd quite like to ask is that, if you are talking to a room full of entrepreneurs, or sorry, a room full of people who are thinking about becoming entrepreneurs, is there
Yeah,
something you would say to them? So this isn't young Solomon here. This is young, room
sure.
full of entrepreneurs
Absolutely.
about things, advice you would pass on about whether that's attitudes to risk or the type of business that they'll be setting up. Are there things that you might say? Because that's what we're really in this for, in terms of why we're talking and so on. It's about the advice, hopefully good advice that you and I can sort of pass on to people who are thinking about starting up. So, what would you say from that point of view?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I'm all about having people try and test and see if this is for them. But I also know that it's not for everybody, as I kind of started in the beginning. The amount of stress and the amount of hours that you put into a business, I'll be happier making a whatever per hour, working 8 hours than working 18 hours making $10. You know what I'm saying? Like, because no matter how you look at the hours, most entrepreneurs work a lot.
Hmm.
If you're not physically at work working, this is so true because I know a lot of friends, they're thinking about it, which is work as well. You're at the golf course, you're still thinking about your clients, the project, who you need to hire. So there's a lot of work that you put into it. And if you don't enjoy that, right, like people that want like clear boundaries, like after 8 o'clock, I'm never going to open up. No, I don't think this is going to be good for them. I'll be honest with you because there's always a fire. I often have somebody who's sick or done like there's so many issues, right? We have people all over the world. And so somebody could have a typhoon and then have our team is not going to be working today.
Hmm.
I might have to do customer service for it. Does that make sense? Like there's all kinds of challenges, right? It's like 911 dispatch center. You're always putting out a fire if you're in entrepreneurship. And that's why I said it's good. I love it. I highly recommend people to do it. They have to really examine and say, do I want to be doing this? Because it might take a while before you're rolling in, as people on Instagram make it look like. And that part, are you willing to persevere?
So I've always found, so I've been doing this for like 12 years now, and I find that if I was thinking about ever going back to paid employment, I think, well, number one, I might be unemployable anyway. I don't know by now, because I would just be so restless. I think I'd find it difficult I think the stress I would feel would be very different. I think it would be the stress from the point of view of feeling I don't have control in my
Mhm.
life, in the way that, yes, you talk about the hard hours and it's not for everybody, but I think at the end of the day, for me, it's about sort of variety and freedom.
Right.
And is that what's kind of at the nub of it for you? That yes, it's hard
Ye-
work, but actually you've got some sort of control over your destiny.
Absolutely. So I think this is one of those things where you get the upside of your work. And I have, like I said, I have entrepreneur friends that are doing very well. And then over time, because of the systems that they put in place, they're not working hard physically, maybe, but they're still mentally exhausted, with all the things that are going on. Like not one person, they need a vacation, right?
Mm.
Like you probably agree with me. Maybe we both need like a couple of days off because it takes a lot of energy. So
Yeah.
I have coaches and consultants that help me out. I've literally blocked 2 days a week out where I don't want inbound meetings
Mm.
that are happening out of my control.
Mm.
As you know, we give our people, calendar, and now everybody books you. You're no longer in control over your own time. And this is after working with a coach. He's like, brother, you don't get paid for showing up to work. That's what employees do. You get paid for what you put out into the world. So you shouldn't be doing this kind of work. You should be doing this kind of work. I was like, wow, that was worth every penny I paid you. And so he's taught me to block 1 day a week, which I was like, no way. How the freak, my team is going to fall apart. All these bad things are going to happen. Nope. Then I took it off because, again, as entrepreneurs, we get in our own way. And now I blocked out 2 days a week. Nobody can book me. And I don't care what happens.
And I bet
Go
you,
ahead.
and the world hasn't fallen apart,
It
and
did, yeah, it
yeah,
hasn't. It
yeah,
hasn't fallen apart.
yeah.
And then I have coaching calls on the other day, so I have to like be available and so on. But these 2 days are like my whatever day. You know what I mean? It's my sacred days where I want to work on the things that I'm supposed to work on to make the rest of this thing happen, which could be recruiting or whatever else. And if I was being very instead of proactive, reactive, I wouldn't have time to recruit and build the systems and make the video I'm supposed to make or be here, for instance. And so like our team has seen me do all this crazy stuff because every day I'm trying to figure out how do I tackle this, right? Like how do you grow with all the pieces while it's moving, right? It's an airplane that's flying. You're still trying to figure it out. So like I said, there's a day when my sales team cannot take any more calls. I've unblocked half of the day. So somebody wants to talk to us, our company isn't closed. You know what I mean? They wouldn't feel like, well, there's not a calendar. I told this to my team, like, we don't have a spot till Thursday. That's not good. That means I need another sales rep or I got to make myself available. But I'm willing to switch. But the fact of the matter is I'm able to see that because, you know, it's absolutely beautiful to be in kind of like that situation. So yeah, back to entrepreneurship. Like I said, it is a lot of work, but it's highly rewarding. It's the piece that a lot of people don't get talked about, but you got to do you got to do your time. I don't know how many years Beyonce was singing before you and I knew who Beyonce was. This is very true in entrepreneurship. We don't put in 18 years, you're not going to be the Beyonce, right? Like that's the part that most people, and everybody wants an overnight success. It just doesn't happen.
I never thought we'd get Beyonce into a podcast.
Hey,
That's
I love
brilliant.
Right? Like how many times did SpaceX try to get one rocket off and lost hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars? And the poor guy is every time he launches, he's broke. You know what I mean? He's losing money, but he doesn't give up. And that's painful. And a lot of people don't want to lose $100.
Yeah.
That's why I said you got to risk a lot if you want to make a lot. And you got to be okay with losing it too, because you might not make it. And you got to be okay with yourself and you got to be okay with the world. You don't just turn your back on everyone, right? Like that's what I mean. You're playing this real time. And a lot of entrepreneurs do. And I don't know a lot of people that didn't risk anything and made trillions of dollars. I'll be honest with you.
Well, I hope you got a real fizz out of listening to Solomon. He was such a pleasure to talk to. So many things to pick out there. I love the idea of Solomon having what he calls his sacred days, for example, where he focuses on just one thing. You've got to be really disciplined in what you do and don't do to succeed in that. And I loved his analogy of practicing all the time if you want to become as good as Beyonce. But most of all, amid all the smiles, energy and passion, Solomon was crystal clear on his final point. You've got to take a risk to make a lot and be comfortable with the idea of not making it. Well, thank you to Solomon and thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's episode, we'd love for you to subscribe, rate and review through your usual podcast provider. And if you want to find out more about the Merri-Cast or our business Merrible Media, you can find us on LinkedIn. Don't forget to join us for our next episode, but until then, thanks for listening.